What's going on, guys? Tony Johnson here from officialtonyjohnson.com. In today's video, I want to talk about 3 tips to running your first or next half or full marathon. Now, running a half or full marathon, especially with your very first time, can be a pretty daunting task. It can seem like a lot of miles, especially if you have never ran a marathon before and you're like, oh my goodness, how in the world am I gonna run 26.2 miles? Because I had those exact same thoughts. A few years ago when I ran my first marathon, I couldn't run a mile when I first started training. In fact, I set out to run 1 mile. That was my initial goal, run 1 mile. I made it halfway and then I walked the rest. So I know exactly how you feel about it being super daunting, super far. And so I really want to provide you 3 tips that if you do consistently throughout your entire training, whether it's 4 or 5 months or 9 or 10 or whatever the length is, it will seriously help with your training. All right, tip number 1 is to incorporate strength training into your routine. Now, most runners, they don't like strength training, they neglect it. They'd rather run themselves to death than to incorporate strength training into a routine. And you don't need to beat yourself to death by lifting 5, 6, 7 times a week. Doing 3 to 4 times a week is plenty. And the biggest reasons of why strength training can help you is it's going to help prevent injuries. Think of strength training like building your body out of bricks. Think of like the children's book, Three Little Pigs, right? The big bad wolf, he blew down the first 2 pigs that was built out of straw and sticks, but the third one he couldn't blow down because it was built out of bricks. Same thing with strength training. If you're just running every single day, the pounding on your feet of taking steps after steps after step is gonna add up. You're gonna hurt your knees, you're gonna hurt your hips, your ankles, your feet. It's eventually gonna add up, and if you're injured, as you know, it is very, very hard to train, because that's what happened to me. When I first started training for my first half or full marathon, I was running 5 times a week, because that's what the training plan said. And because I did that, I got runner's knee, I hurt my right knee, and then right after I hurt my left knee, so I couldn't run for about 2 months. And it is very hard to progress in your running when you can't run, okay? So it's important that you do incorporate strength training in your routine. As I mentioned, it will help you reduce the risk of getting injured and quote unquote build your body out of bricks. And why I say that is, 1, you're taking off the pressure on your feet amount of miles. You're not running as many miles. So you give your feet, your legs, your ankles, your knees and all that a little bit of time to rest. But 2, you're building up muscles that aren't getting used when you run, right? When you run, you're only strengthening your running miles, or you're running muscles and neglecting and not using other muscles in your body. So when you strength train, you're able to elevate all the muscles in your body, which helps you become stronger and like I said, build your body out of bricks. So strength training, extremely important that you do it every single week. Like you only gotta do it about 3 times a week. You don't need to do it every single day. And the framework that I use a push-pull leg split, right? So push is strengthening the muscles that you push weights with, which would be your chest, your shoulders, and your triceps. And then pull is back and buys. And then legs is, of course, your legs, which are your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes, and your calves. And if you just do 3 workouts per week, 45 minutes, give or take, it's 10 times better if you do it at the gym than at home. You'll be able to progress with your training a lot more, just because you'll be able to use different weights, different muscle groups require different weights. And so doing home exercises with a 5 or 10 pound dumbbell, honestly, you'll probably end up just wasting more time and not really doing much for you. So going to the gym 3 times a week, doing a push, pull, and a leg split, and then the way you want to incorporate this with your training, give you a little bit of a tip here, is let's say you're doing your long runs on a Saturday, train legs on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, because you don't want to train legs on a Friday and then do a long run on a Saturday, because you'll be sore from your leg training. And if you're sore when you run, it makes it significantly harder. It's still possible, but it's significantly harder and it's not pleasant at all. So make sure you space this out and do like a leg on Tuesday or Wednesday and then your long run on Saturday. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is nutrition. as you've heard a million times probably, you can't outrun a bad diet. And so if you're eating fast food, processed foods, junk food, you're not going to have necessarily the energy required to run longer distances. I mean, sure, you can get by running a couple miles, but longer distances, the half marathon, the full marathon, is going to require that you're optimizing your body with high-performing foods. And so what are these high-performing foods? They're the lean, the healthy, the foods are the chicken, the salmons, the steaks, the ground beefs. The carbs would be potatoes, rice, spaghetti, pasta, and then the fats are going to be peanut butter, avocados. Like those are the eggs. Those are good. Eggs is probably the best because it covers both the protein and the healthy fats. So those are that's probably one of the most important things, that you are eating healthy, because you'll notice that you use your carbs as your primary source of fuel, and if you're not getting an adequate amount of carbs in, or you're not eating the right carbs to really help with your performance, it's going to have an effect on you. So you want to make sure that you're eating healthy foods throughout the entire day while you're training. You might be thinking, okay, well, eating chicken and rice is boring. It definitely can be bland. You can add barbecue sauce on it and whatnot to make it taste better. Another strategy that I do is the 80-20 rule. So 80% of my meals throughout the week are clean and healthy, while the other 20% is like the fast food or the junk food. And this just makes it so I don't go crazy and just kind of lose my mind about or think that I just got to eat healthy over and over and over again. So let's say you eat 21 meals per week, which is 3 meals per day. 18 of those meals around there needs to be pretty clean and healthy. And then the other 2 or 3, which you can space out over the week, can be, whatever your favorite fast food joint is, or whatever your pizza or burgers or whatever it is. I just space those out, and that will really help with, one, not going absolutely crazy about having to eat clean all the time, but 2, it will really help with your performance. It'll make it so when you're running, you'll be able to run farther and faster. You won't feel bloated or not have the energy. 2, if you're in the gym, you'll have the energy to lift more. You get a better workout in. You'll get stronger, which will all convert to you're running and doing even better there. So it's extremely important that you're eating clean and healthy meals throughout the entire time you're training. And number 3, which honestly could be number 1, is your mindset. You hear the saying 80% of running is mindset, 90% of running is mindset. Honestly, 100% of your training is mindset, 100% of your training is strength training, 100% of your training is nutrition, so it's all of them. But mindset is probably the most important of the 3, because at any second you start to, your mind starts to play games on you, you start to have limiting beliefs. That's when you can just, cave in and just quit. So it's really important that mentally you're on top of your game. When one of the strategies I use is I break down my runs into bite-sized pieces. So on a long run, if I'm running, let's say 10 miles, and at mile 4 or 5, I want to start walking, or I'm tired, or I want to quit, instead of slowing down and walking, what I do is I look at my remaining miles. Okay, so let's say I'm at mile 5 and I got to get to mile 10. I look at those remaining 5 miles, and what I'll do is I'll break down those 5 miles into 1 mile chunks. Instead of saying I gotta run 5 miles, I say I have to run 1 mile 5 times. And because I do that, psychologically, it's like, okay, I only need to run 1 more mile. That's not far at all. I've already ran 5 miles. I can easily run 1 more mile, no problem. And so I'll just change my focus to smaller little chunks that are easily manageable, that I can easily break down, that no matter how tired you are, you can always run an extra mile. And if you can't run a mile, then break it down into 100 yards or 100 feet. Or if you're in so much pain and you just can't even imagine running a few extra miles, just break it down to one more step, because no matter what, you can always take one more step. You just have that one more mentality. And if you do that, I promise you'll be able to get past the limiting beliefs, that mental fog, and just wanting to quit on yourself. And you'll be able to push through that and make it to the other side where you feel more encouraged, you have more energy. Because the way I look at it is like those negative thoughts are like a rain or a bad weather or a storm or something like that. And we all know storms don't last forever. Thunder and lightning storms, they last a day, maybe 2 days. And then on the other side of the thunder and lightning is the sunshine and the good times. And so if you can just break down and like think of all your limiting beliefs, your negative thoughts, you being discouraged, you being tired as a thunderstorm. And then once you get past that thunderstorm, it's all, you'll be encouraged, you'll feel good about yourself, you'll have the energy, you'll be inspired, you'll be happy, you're positive, you'll smile, and you just got to make it through that small little window. It will drastically change your training and the way you think about it, because there will be many times, especially on the marathon, even half marathons, so when you're mile 18, mile 20, and you're like, oh my God, there's no way. I can't keep running. I'm so tired. My legs hurt, my feet hurt, my knees hurt, quads, hamstrings are on fire. And the only thing you'll want to do is stop running. And at that point is when you have to double down and have to really focus on your mental game there, because it's all mental at that point. And really, turn those limiting beliefs and negative thoughts into positivity so you can keep running to finish the race. So incorporate those 3 little tips into your training, and I promise you it will make all the difference in the world. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And also, I created a brand new webinar titled How to Train for a Half or Full Marathon Without Running 5 times a week, speed intervals or hills, and how you can too, even if it's your very first race or you have no experience. I'll put a link in the bio where you can register. It's a free training. You can check it out, and it'll be in depth of exactly what you need to do day by day, step by step. So make sure to check that out if you're training for your first half or full marathon, or if you're training for the 2nd, 5th, 10th, or whatever, and you want to get faster, or if you want to train for a marathon and you've been at the half for a while, or maybe if you want to incorporate strength training in your routine, you can check that. There'll be a link in the bio, and I promise you it will be well worth your time. So see you guys in the next one.